All right, conservative talker John Fredericks joins me now. He's also part of the Trump re-election campaign for the state of Virginia. John, I appreciate your being here because I know you care about children.
Thanks, Karen.
I do.
Sure.
I do. So just to make this clear for everyone, this policy, this zero tolerance policy, was put in place to act as a deterrent for those trying to cross the border into the United States.
Yes, of course it was. It was put into place because the alternative is catch and release, which means you come into the country illegally, you break the law, there are no consequences whatsoever, and you simply get released into the United States, never to be found again. Now, that doesn't make any sense. So what's happened is we've got 3 times the number of apprehensions in the past 90 days than we had same months 2017. So the administration decided, look, we have to do something, and we have to simply enforce our law. So if you're concerned about the children, Carol, like we all are, I'm a father of 3, I'm a Catholic, we're all concerned about it. But look, don't break the law. Don't come into the country illegally with your children in tow. And look,
Okay.
Carol, we can't have
Let me
a
ask you
two-tiered...
something about that, John, because I do want to understand, because I am also Catholic, right? And
Yes,
as a
ma'am.
Catholic, I'm trying to wrap my head around this, and I can't find an answer that I think is moral and ethical. I'm just going to talk about people who are seeking asylum. If I am a mother, and I'm fearful that my child is going to die because of what's going on in my country, and I escape to a country that I think that I can apply for asylum, a country that's
Right.
humane, a country that
Right.
cares, a country of immigrants. And
Yes.
I cross the border and say I'm seeking asylum, and then I'm charged with a crime, and my child is
Yes.
taken away from me. As a Catholic, I can't resolve that in my soul.
Well, Carol, may I respond to that?
Sure.
Because I'm a Catholic also, and here's how I respond to it. If I'm with my minor child in America, and I'm driving with a suspended license for whatever reason, and I'm stopped for violating a traffic sign, I am arrested, and my child is taken from me from the backseat of the car and put in child services until they can contact mom or someone else. And I'm goaded and I'm processed in jail. That's the way our system works. Now,
Okay,
if you
let me
wanna
stop
seek
you right
asylum-
there,
wait,
because
wait,
I
wait.
understand.
If you
No,
wanna
I
seek
understand.
asylum-
I want to ask you something. I do.
Well, we
I
have
do.
to get to the asylum,
That
though.
person who's driving with a suspended license is not escaping a violent regime, is not desperate to find safety, is not desperate to find someone who cares, it's not on the topmost of your mind, I'm going to break the law. That's not in their mind. They're looking for a safe place to raise their child.
Right.
Isn't that different?
So, yes, and the answer to that is follow the asylum law in the United States. For those parents and children that are legitimately seeking asylum, they seek that at the port of entry, and they say, I'm an asylum seeker. And then the families are not split up. They're put in there, they're interviewed for processing to see if their claims for asylum make sense. That's the U.S. law that we have now.
I want to question you on each point. I want to question you on each point, John. Okay, port of entry. In the state of California, there are 2 main ports of entry, and they're way far apart, right? So again, I'm escaping the violence of my country. I'm making a dangerous journey on foot with my kid, hundreds of miles, and I'm going to know the point of entry because I'm afraid this whole time. I mean, think about yourself. You're escaping a violent regime, and you have one of your precious children with you, John. You're walking across that desert. You're hoping to survive, and you're going to search for a port of entry, right? Where
Well,
you don't know what it is.
Carol, you've
right?
already
You just want to
traveled.
go to the United States and be safe.
You've already
right?
traveled, you've already navigated hundreds of miles that you just said to get to the United States through several countries. Are you telling me you can't figure out what the legal means is in the port of entry? And as soon as you go to the port of entry, you're safe.
And you don't speak
well,
English.
it's complicated to get from El Salvador to San Diego. That's complicated also. So you can't complicate everything. They can find it if they so chose. But what happens is they go across the border, they break the law. they go across the border illegally, they get apprehended, and then they say, I want asylum. Well, now they're putting their children at risk, right? If they go by the law, they go to the port of entry, they ask for asylum there, the families are protected, and they're stayed together while the processing goes through. If you don't like that system, change it, but those are the laws as they stand.
They can't change it.
Right now.
These people are the most powerless person.
We can change it. We can change it.
We're not
the Congress can change it.
Congress ain't going to change anything.
They've not done that.
Yeah,
but
nobody's going to change anything. Because, because these are desperate people, and, like, we don't really care that much about them because we don't want them into the country. Sure we care, Carol, but we also are a nation of laws. Why should we have a two-tier judicial system in the United States? One for people that are illegal and the other one for just citizens of the United States. We have so many children now that are in HHS and protective services because one of their parents are in jail, their kids got taken from them, they can't get out of jail, they can't make bail, they don't have money for a good attorney, their kids are taken from them. Are you talking about American citizens now?
Yes. Nobody says a word about that, Carol. Nobody says anything about that. I think that's
apples and oranges,
But you come to the country illegally, it's a two-tiered system. You can't have it. So all we're saying is follow the law.
And you're right. We do have to follow the law. But I think we have to have a heart and a conscience, too. So we'll just agree to disagree, because I do understand your point. I do.
Thank you.
People should obey the law. But I think that we have a difference of opinion as to how brutally you enforce it. But we'll continue to talk about this.
What would be the alternative, Carol? What's the alternative?
The asylum seekers
is catch and release.
Treat them like asylum and put them in a detention facility together, at least until you can figure out whether that person has a legitimate beef with their country. You could put the parent and the child together. And yes, we can do that because we're the United States of America. There's only...
Then you should take the... Then you can take the asylum seekers and put them back on the other side of the border and into the asylum facilities, and they can go through the application, but they shouldn't have come here in the first place
illegally. They should not be separated. Well, these asylum seekers are not coming into the country illegally. They're asking for asylum as is stated in American law.
They're asking for asylum, Carol. They're asking for asylum after they've broke the law and been apprehended. If they didn't get apprehended, they wouldn't ask for asylum. They would simply be somewhere in the United States. They're getting apprehended, then they're asking for asylum.
I think they want to get apprehended, John, because they want help.
Well, if they wanted to get apprehended, they should have gone to the port of entry. They traveled 1,000 miles. They can't find the legal port of entry? Come on, Carol, you know that is not a legitimate argument. You know that. I don't know. I've never made that journey. Maybe we should both try it together sometime with a 5-year-old in tow. If you can come thousands of miles, Carol, with your children, think about it. You're coming over several countries and terrains, and you've got your children in tow, and you can't figure out where the legal port of entry is. That is just, it's not a rational argument. They can figure it out. They don't want to. We will have to agree to disagree. John, always a pleasure. Thank you very much, John Fredericks.